Here we are.
Got nothing to
How do we
say.
start this?
Are we rolling?
We're always rolling. Hello.
What was it like getting everybody together for this documentary?
Kind of painful.
There's a lot of damage done here, a lot of emotional damage.
I was frightened most of the time.
It's sort of like a family reunion because I think we are very much a family, a very dysfunctional, crazy family, but that's what it feels like to me.
Well, let's talk about how long you've been with Jim. I mean, you were...
I started in 73. I met Jim in 72, started in 73.
And you?
71.
And you?
I met Jim watching Sesame Street in 1969.
Wow.
What does that
And
mean?
you?
What do you mean by that?
Well, that's when I first
Saw Jim.
But you
Saw
didn't meet
Jim.
him. You can't meet him through the television set.
ate blueberry pies, and then he would
Oh,
fall
yeah,
down the
yeah,
stairs.
yeah, I
That's
love
the
that.
first
Oh,
time I
but
saw
you watching
Jim.
television.
Yeah.
Well, we talking
Well, we're
about
talking
meeting
human
him.
beings. How long were you with the company? How's that?
26 years.
Okay, you're the new guy.
That's right. And you?
1963.
There's a thing that got said in the documentary, which is that over the course of working on all these different characters, you kind of realized that you didn't quite know who you were before, and then sort of playing all these characters, you kind of discovered yourselves. But I'm very interested in who you were before you worked with Jim. What were you doing? What was your life like? Do you remember what sort of person you were?
Yeah, walking around like with all these characters inside, the lumps coming out of different places, trying to get out, and stitches, like doctors have to stitch
still
up
needs help.
because a character is starting to get
No,
out.
I think there's a misunderstanding. It's
Yeah.
not that we didn't know who we were. It's just those characters were parts of us. We knew who we were.
Oh, that's just a serious answer.
Yeah.
No, that's true. We knew who we were, but when we started doing this work, aspects of our personality were called for. So we brought those particular aspects forward.
In addition, I think who we were changed by Jim. I think that's the key thing, that I
Absolutely.
certainly was changed 180 degrees by just working with Jim. I'd never worked with anyone quite like that.
He was really instinctive about people, and he loved diversity. He loved all sorts of different kinds of personalities. He saw something in each person that could work within the context. And it was a chance for all of us to sort of join this group and get to contribute. You know, he really wanted contribution from everybody.
Right at the start of the documentary, you say, I think I got the number right, it's 235 million people in 102 countries, am I right? So why? Why was it that the Muppets were that all-inclusive to every single person? Why across cultures, across ages? Not just why it was that Jim was able to make it work, but why it was that each of you were the right people. What was it that you brought? Do you even have perspective on why it was that what you did was as successful? Because this is a thing that every creator wants to be able to achieve.
Really? We don't have perspective on it. I can't grasp 235 million people. At the end of the day, we just do it for ourselves. And Jim is the one who really instigated all the fun and all the, but when I say fun is always mixed in with discipline, the structure, the script, sure you're not blocking a light, not blocking a character, all this stuff was all very serious. Because we could handle that, then we could have fun. And Jim is the one who really taught us all that.
Yeah. And you know, the Muppets, the studio where we did the Muppet Show was like a great big daycare. And it had no windows, and we were in there all day, 10, 12 hours, playing. And I remember going out, you know, and being shocked when I would go to a party and find that people were watching it. Because I wasn't really thinking about the audience, I was just thinking about having fun.
It wasn't geared towards a certain audience. I think, you know, people tend to want to gear things in entertainment towards a certain demographic. And this was just about entertaining, and I think entertaining each other while we're doing it. You know, that if we're not making each other laugh, then it's, I think that's a part of what Jim did,
Yeah.
right? Was to just do it to
Absolutely.
enjoy and have fun.
And also, you know, people think we're children's performers. Never thought of kids when I perform. Never in a million years. None of us ever thought
Oh,
about
no,
kids.
no, no.
I-
We just did it for ourselves.
for ourselves, and that's probably why half of the 235 million people were adults, and the kids will come in anyway. There is one thing I think that Jerry Nelson said in MuppetGuysTalking.com, which was very touching, and that has to do with inclusivity. And there are people who feel a bit outcast, who are not normal, supposedly, or normal, and
But they don't think they're
they don't
normal.
think that, and so, or other people don't think they are, and so this was a place where they could recognize that you don't have to be normal. I remember I'm on Twitter now for the first time, and I've gotten things like, you know, I grew up abused, and the Muppet Show was the only place I felt safe and I could enjoy myself. That's powerful, powerful.
Yeah. No, I mean, that connects with me. I feel like Gonzo was the first Muppet that I ever connected with because he was so unusual.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
A lot of people come to me with that exact comment about him. They thank me for the fact that we illustrated that it was okay to be different.
Yeah.
We celebrated differences. I mean, and it was really an extension of Jim. He celebrated differences to the extent that he hired just a huge array of different personalities. And it was interesting. I know when I joined, I looked around me and I thought, geez, some of these people, they're kind of unemployable, you know? They're really weirdos. And we worked together for a few years and we did amazing work. And then I started to realize each one of them can do something that nobody else can do. And they all bring something wonderful. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons for me about this whole last 43 years. It's just the beauty that we get from interacting with people who are different than us.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like it's a big part of Jim's legacy.
Speaking to Frank's point about Twitter, one of the things that we found at South by Southwest is so many people came up and just said what he said, that it was a place where they felt safe. And I think in all the characters, it's not only that people identify with just one, but they see parts of themselves in all of the characters. And I think because the characters are so multidimensional, it allows people that sense of I'm a little like Piggy here, I'm like Fozzie in this respect, and it becomes a fully embracing culture in that respect.
And I remember in Southwest, after we had one of the screenings, well, first of all, one woman came up and was crying and couldn't even talk. She just wanted an autograph. She was crying. And then I went outside, and another woman was crying, and she said to me, Fozzie is my hero because he never gives up. And I had dyslexia, and so I never gave up, and I became valedictorian.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
What a story.
Whoa!
That's nice.
Amazing.
How do you find in your careers as you've carried on, do you think that you've continued that legacy? What sort of Jim-isms do you think that you kind of picked up as you've sort of carried on in your lives?
I have one. Like whenever I'm in a stressed out moment, like I'm in the back of a cab or something, and oh my gosh, I'm going to be so late, I think of Jim and how he would have handled it, because Jim would have gone, oh, well, you know, just nothing I can do about it, so just go with the flow. So it, you know, calms me down. Many, many things about him, just, but that's salient.
I remember taking a flight with Jim, and he was in the window seat, and he was working as he always does. And I'm next to him, and I look, and the engine's on fire.
Gosh.
I said, Jim, the engine's on fire. He said, oh.
Wow.
He was very fatalistic. I remember when we
Yeah,
were about
yeah.
to show our first pilot for ABC of a Muppet type show. I called him. We were talking a couple days ahead of time, and I said, "Well, you must be pretty excited about this, and you must be stressed out." And he said, "Oh no, if we don't do this, we'll do something else."
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he
it,
had an
that's how he was.
equanimity
Yeah.
about him that was relaxing.
Jim always joked that if all of a sudden nobody wanted to see us anymore, he and I'd be in the gutter with Bert and Ernie looking for pennies.
I guess for me, because I'm fortunate, I get to perform a couple of his characters that he created. So there's just this innate kind of silliness that that I just feel like comes through whenever I get to do these characters, and it just always makes me feel like don't take things too seriously. You know, that there's always time to be serious, but don't forget to have a lot of fun and let go and let loose.
And if you have that relaxed atmosphere the good work comes out. If you feel like your boss or somebody is standing over you and criticizing you all the time, Jim never did that. He would praise you. It was always a positive thing, like, okay, I like that voice, but what if you try to raise it? Nothing was punitive about him. So we flourish when people are kind to us. And honey versus vinegar, there's a million platitudes, but that's the way he operated.
And he didn't manage people. He didn't read a book about managing people. He didn't read a book about leadership.
No.
He was authentic. That is just who he was. He never told me what to do, ever.
Yeah.
It was just, as a model, I think we all were so affected by it. I know when I direct movies, if I worked with a screamer, I'd be screaming on set at the actors. But I didn't, so now I am not punitive with the actors whatsoever, and that's because of Jim. I work with them, but there's so many things in my life that have to do with Jim.
Well, and that's something I hope people can take away from the movie, is whether you're a leader or leading any kind of team, just to watch the kind of creativity that's come out of that type of approach. I don't think great work is fostered in an atmosphere of control, and that's what these guys are talking about.
Yeah, when you see
Except for Frank,
Muppet,
he's very controlled.
when you see Muppet guys talking, there's a little flash. One of us refers to always looking over and seeing Jim at the monitor. If he wasn't in a shot, he'd be
yes.
watching the monitor, just the way your producer is right now, and laughing and just enjoying it, and knowing full well that we were going to have to modify things and do more takes and get it better. But he was still enjoing the ride, you know. For him, it was all about the journey, not the destination.
It's
In the
contagious.
movies, he wouldn't go to his trailer if we're working, and he's not. He wouldn't, if we're on doing something like Dave said, he would always watch us and always enjoy us.
I was wondering if it would be okay if we talk about Jerry Nelson for a little bit.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Would you tell me about some of your memories of performing with him and what you think it is about his characters that were so special?
Boy.
He was a really good actor, first of all.
great.
He really was. He really could play. I think he probably did more characters.
He did more
than-
characters than any of us.
Really, yeah.
Jerry was the go-to guy. He was referred to as the man of 1,000 voices. And Jim would assign a character to Jerry just before a read-through of the Muppet Show, literally just before we opened the script. And we hadn't seen the script yet. I'd say, would you do the coal miner, or would you do this? Would you do the cop or the cowboy? And Jerry would just deliver a spot-on, finished character on a cold read. And it was so good that that's how it was in the show. He was that
And
amazingly talented.
he's so diverse. I mean, two of my favorite characters, like, completely different. I mean, one is Floyd Pepper, who I really loved, and he sang so beautifully. And then there's the other one who I love is New Zealand. You know, they're totally separate characters. I mean, what a breadth of talent. You know.
Oh, huge breadth of talent. Just a sweet man, very kind, very giving, very associated with the common man. He was just, I don't know, just a wonderful guy.
The first time I got to work with him on one character was in Muppet Treasure Island. He did this amazing character named Blind Pew.
Billy Bones, it's me, Blind Pew.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to do the hands so he had these two live hands, and Blind Pew, you know, and we're doing it together. And I was very much into, you know, saying to him, you know, is it okay if I do this and with my hand, and can I touch that? And he just said,
Yeah.
do whatever you want, man. You know, and he just trusted that, you know, I guess you know, he trusted that I was going to be able to do what he needed to help support his character, but he wasn't ever, you know, I never felt like he criticized, you know, other people, like the work, or he was just very much a blast to play with and open.
And the end result of that was a lovely, lovely performance. It was an example of this chemistry where Jerry was doing an amazing character and Billy enhanced it. He just took it up to an even another level. You did something where you were speaking to
Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly, and Blind Pew was talking to him, and he took a little sprig of Billy's hair and twirled it around his finger. And it was just so funny. It's such a perfect little detail, you know, and only certain people can think of that kind of thing.
You know, Jerry reacted beautifully to the puppets too, and when I did Grover, I did a lot of restaurant pieces with Grover and
gosh,
Fat
yes.
Boy. And so Grover would be the protagonist. He'd be the wild one. And Jerry's reactions always cracked me up as Fat Boy. It was just fantastic.
Best. I
Yeah.
love that pair.
Which was the two of you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was really special.
An amazing
There's the two of you
musician,
below.
amazing
Yeah.
Sort of a
singer.
He used
pathological
to
way.
play the guitar in the green room and keep us all happy, you know, in between
I think,
scenes.
yeah,
And
when he sang with Floyd, the New York State of Mind, that blew me away. Totally blew me
And,
away.
and cool. He was a
Very cool.
cat, you know. Cool
And he had
cat.
some very difficult times in his life.
Yeah.
His daughter with cystic fibrosis,
Yeah.
who died at a young age. That was a wound that was very, very, very deep in him. So maybe even with the characters, it was a good place for him to be. You know.
But his Robin was just the sweetest
Oh.
character.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with this piece. Robin halfway down the stairs.
Yeah.
That just kills me. It's such an innocent little character, and it's just one of the most beautiful bits I've ever seen
And
in
he-
any Muppets.
And he did have a broader range than any of us.
Oh, he was
Yeah.
amazing. We did a little series called The Secret Life of Toys for the Disney Channel. And he played a character, a wise old bear whose stuffing was coming out, called Balthazar. And the sweetness and the wisdom and the kind of slight irregularity of this slightly doddering old bear was poignant, and it was just so spot on. He did many things. We could be here all night.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the Muppet Guys Talking, the documentary, Jerry is really the one who expressed real gravitas and depth and feeling.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, he was the only one who really got down there and made a couple of statements I thought were
Very
so
moving.
touching and beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite responses from Jerry in the film is when he says that he realizes who he was back then is not who he thought or rather who he is now is not who he thought he was. And that this path of growth that came through the Muppets and that came
through
through
Jim.
Jim, it's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
we didn't like him that much.
And it sounds like a cult, you know, Jim, but it's not. I mean, he was flawed. He was like anybody else. But there was something singular about him, you know. I don't even know how to express it. There was just a real singular aspect about this human being, which I didn't realize when I was working with him.
There aren't, 250 some odd million people in the room right now. I hope I can speak for them when I say that the work that you each have done with the Muppets over the years has ferried, I think, all of us from childhood to adulthood without losing our sense of wonder. And
That's
that
lovely.
has been such a gift, and I thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
all
you,
of you.
Danny.
Thank you.
Group hug, group hug.
Okay, Danny, get yourself something nice here.
Buy my book. Yeah, that's it.
Forgot I was connected.
Oh, thank you.
That was so
That
beautifully
was
said. It was stunning.
lovely. You and I screwed up my.